Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the card table, the place where we give you our lives, an example of the cards. And so, what do you bring to the table? And everyone that usually comes, we appreciate you because you do bring a lot of information to us that helps us explore the metaphysical aspects of these cards. And what's been interesting, of course, based upon an example, and for those who may be new, then maybe new as far as tuning in and catching us live. Let me go live on Instagram too. Sorry for the little pause. Connection and software. Yeah, it's live. Don't go live on Instagram. We're having trouble streaming to Instagram. If you ended it on Instagram, then it is expected that you are live. Your stream is public. Sorry for the reading this. So I don't know why it's not going live on Instagram. Let me see. Okay. I know we appreciate y'all because y'all do come, and there's always something going on, right? But it's the seven of spades week, card of faith. All right. I did want to read a little bit from the seven of spades. It's one of the what we call, or what I've learned when I first came into spirituality. It was a group of people that initiated me into this particular concept of just astrology first, and what does that mean? As far as just me being woke and conscious. Because a lot of times what happens is when people become woke or conscious, or they learn some type of spirituality, they, I guess you can say, they try to unshackle themselves from the chains of religion, and really misunderstand what maybe spirituality is, because it's looked at as an escape from traditional forms of spirituality. But once you actually learn what cardology is and what other metaphysical practices are, I believe that it does give you true values, or a higher sense of purpose and values that I think religion doesn't focus on, as far as empowering yourself and the way that you interact with the world around you. So, kind of got that from two different points, actually. So, let me get his name. He's a musical. He's in the music business. I don't want to call him musical, but he's in the music business, and he gives a lot of critique on Mike Danza. I think his name is Demiza. He gives a lot of critique on the music industry a lot of times, and he was asked the question, "Are we living in the Matrix?" I actually play it. If I don't know if y'all can hear me.
Someone asked me an interesting question today. Do I think that we live in a matrix? Is this just one big video game? My thought on it is this. When we're together, we're at our most happy. And what usually brings us together is entertainment.
So he goes on to say, long story short, he goes on to say that the entertainment business have corrupted the essence of people joining together, and from that energy of love and happiness, we connect, and through that connection, we create great things. Right. So all true in itself, but the seven of spades and the sevens all together, the way that I see it is seven is Neptune, right? So one of the statements that the sevens talks about is whenever you lose the sense of spirituality and you become so constructed on the numbers, right? You become so fixed on what's practical and what you can lose out on something special, or that relationship with God, I believe. So sevens in the Neptune area of karma, or within the cards, or whatever you may look at, is actually the relationship and how we look at our relationship with spirituality. Um, so let me show the screen here. So I'm just not talking right. I always be like, I don't want to talk y'all head off. I don't want to talk y'all head off. So hopefully you all have also been listening and looking at my Instagram. I made a lot of posts, which I do have a little story to tell with that. Because even though, like we said, like I said, I do look at these like scriptures and things that give us values and knowledge, right? Because without these, um, and you want to dive into spirituality, you don't want to lose God, right? Or that sense of spirituality, because this is what this is all about. I think you become closer with your higher self through these particular art forms and through these particular principles that the cards can give you. And we've talked about it before. Also, there's a book called the Card Bible, which we really don't speak about enough, I think. And I haven't read it all the way through, to be honest. So that's one reason I don't speak about it too much. But in itself, it gives you particular relationships and things that you can see in relationship to the Bible. Um, you go over here. So we're gonna look at the sevens description overall. Like I said, sevens is, like I said, our closest thing to Neptune or higher self or God. I think in that higher relationship to I wouldn't say perfection, but things that that's outside of the physical. So the seventh card is the Neptune card, the seventh row, the Neptune row, which may account in part for the confusion that arises in our attempts to understand that Neptune is extrasensory. And so is seven. As soon as we use it on the level of cold facts, mundane interests, and physical responsibilities, we deprive ourselves of a good half of its power if, and thus using it, we lose sight of its spiritual significance. So um, there you go. So it's not really based upon the cold hard facts. There's even the position of Uranus. If you look at Uranus or how other people look at particular practices and concepts, even Uranus leads on the value of unplanned luck, right? It's like if I'm going to the store, I run into a random person outside, and you can say random, you can say it's random, but or is it God, saying that you may run into a music producer and you do music and y'all exchange numbers or contacts and not even knowing or not even planning it out, right? That's more of like the Uranus when you're in Uranus, like you go out and about, you're social, you're meeting people, and through those connections, something happens, right? So the value is the spark and the connection that you have. But I look at Neptune as a point of faith, right? Um, Something that leads you through the dark of the unknown when you're not understanding this higher sense of yourself. But it's working on two planes, the physical and the spiritual planes is the planes that the sevens is working on. Seven is called the dominical or holy number. So it can also be the seven of spades can be a card, I think, of depression a lot of times, or that energy can be depressing without that type of understanding also. What happened to without that understanding? Because we, like I said, we call it a card of faith, right? So those are your sevens, is leading with that faith and having that faith of the unknown, right? So I believe that's what the matrix is somewhat. There's this matrix that we don't see. Every week we come here, we speak about our personal experiences, what happened, and our spiritual experiences through the cards and what we have learned, right? And actually, sevens actually become the examples a lot of times when they walk into the higher self or within the higher wisdom. Maybe they know or don't know, is what we hear. Is there will or is there just the will of God? those are things that are talked about as well when it comes to spirituality and us being here and learning these particular sciences, right? What really is leading the way with a lot of these particular sciences is something that is the reason that we all are here, trying to understand this physical world and our relationship with it, right? And I was an example through my Instagram this week. And I haven't had the best attitude around relationships. I really haven't this week. And I did find the culprit. And I will show that as well. I don't know. Usually there is a screen back behind me of showing the light spread. I kind of liked it that way. Let me see if I can change it. Maybe just a little bit now. Sorry. I don't know why that banner isn't showing or that background isn't showing. So I want to show you where the seven of spades is, kind of relating to my story. So did I have faith this week? I know we talk about us, and I don't like being up here as being like this know-it-all guy that got the cards down to a T, and I'm just the perfect specimen. No, not at all, because I am learning these cards, um, or they're teaching me every day, is just like everyone else. Actually, I'm not perfect at all. I wouldn't say I some come to my lower self, but it does happen at times, right? Where I don't have the best faith, and I don't know everything a lot of times, and I have to submit just like everybody else do to a higher power for understanding, and actually I look to the cards for that understanding. Like I said, as I opened, that's how we use the cards, is as a connection to a higher self, and what I see as the matrix, right? So that's why I played that part as well of him speaking about the matrix and us being in the matrix, because I use the card to navigate through this particular matrix, right? This matrix, this thread that God has weaved for us to help us understand the relationship we have with everyone in the physical, right? So, Mike, Demiza, when we're speaking about it as our connection in the entertainment world, trying to rip us away from the connection we have, which I see it as truth as well. I do see the truth in it. And I don't want to be debative like the seven of spades is, because it can be somewhat of a debative card as well when it's not operating at its highest degree spiritually, right? Someone, because if you're not faithful, you have no faith, you have no sense of belief, and everything is practical, what happens? You become argumentative a lot of times. So this energy can be argumentative, So that's what happened to me a little bit. I try not to really be argumentative too much, right? Because it has a two of clubs and Mercury, right? And look at where the two of clubs is in Mercury. It's by the King of Hearts. I got my little heart broken. I ain't gonna say heartbroken. It really wasn't that deep. But what happened to me, the reason I brought this up, I was like, let's look at the spread, because this week I had a nine of hearts in on my Saturn, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Saturn. What day is that for me? Thursday's my Mercury, Venus, Mars, my Mars, nine of hearts on my Mars day. So I had a nine of hearts Saturday, and my Jupiter days are Sundays, which like I said, I used to say we talk a lot of jargon. So what am I talking about? I had a nine of hearts on my Mars day. So the day that you born is your Mercury day. Okay. So we talk about it a little bit. Mercury day is the day that you're born. So this would have been, let me see which age spread I was on. Actually, they'll show you my week a little better, right? So how I calculate that Someone asked me when would I do classes or have classes. I don't quite know. Because I am in my ship store here at Ship Burlington. We have online postal boxes. If you are in business or if you have a business, I do recommend you getting a PO box or a virtual address with a physical address attached to it. That way, you can be credible or look professional. Or also, if you have an online presence, if anyone sends you anything, or they need your address for something as far as like material or you're shipping anything or you're some type of online personality, get a PO box, right? Or a virtual address. The virtual address is good for businesses if you want to put in applications and those things, okay? And the PO box, like I say, is good for just shipping information, or if you just want to look professional on a resume or anything, or use this as or show it as a credible business in some type of way. Right. So this is where I am until I get internet, and it's 16 megabytes per second in my house, which I hate. Like 16 megabytes. It worked at Charter. Like I can't. I'm trying to look for another route. But so how do I get my weekly spread? So how do I know what day or that I had that day? I get that from my weekly spread. So through the 52 weeks, you have a new spread every day outside of just your stagnant yearly spread. So first you look days I've been alive. So days since for me is 614. I want to I could give you my year. I do anyways, right? 1990, which I've been alive for 12,576 days. So what I do from there, I look at the days I've been alive, I divide that by seven. Okay. Then I get 1,796. I divide that by 45. Then I'm a minus the whole number. So it's 39.9238,095. So I minus just the 39. Okay. Then I times that by 45. That gives me which weekly spread I am on. So without any type of device, if you have this printed out, if you need this printed out, I usually charge people, but it's two people here. If you wanted to, you don't got it, I email it to you, just y'all two. The benefits of tapping in live, I appreciate it. So you look up that's how you find your weekly spread. Can't be right. No. What's today? Did I do it wrong? I had a 9 of hearts. Divided by 7, divided by 45, minus 39, minus 45. 41. Oh, okay, that's why. So here we go. So on the application or within the app, it said that this is a 9 of hearts card. Nice. But if you look at the 7 of diamonds and you see what supports it interchangeably, there's the 9 of hearts that always supports it. Why is that important? Because there are 7 mystic. We have the mystic 7. So you have your 2 semi-fixed cards, which is the 7 of diamonds and 9 of hearts, and then you have the Ace of clubs and 2 of hearts. And by coincidence, both of those have heart cards. If you pay attention, you see that. Both of those semi-fixed cards have heart cards. So the emotions, relationships are always important with that particular energy. So my, I said Mercury, Venus, Mars, Mercury, Venus. On here's my Venus day. So it had to been Friday then, which I kind of got the news Friday night, I guess. And then,
What?
hello, Madeline, how you doing?
Good. You said you got the news. News about what?
It wasn't good news, yeah. So I got the news about. Can it say I didn't get rejected? What is it a rejection? So I was going out on a date, and I asked some right, like you what? So I asked someone to go out on a date. So I asked them to go out to eat, Sunday. And then going into Saturday morning, they text me and was like, I asked them what time you wanted to go. And they was like, well, nah, I'm good because you didn't even get to know me. I was like, what? what do you what do you mean? I think you're on mute if you were saying something. I can't hear you still.
I said, get to know you. Isn't that what dinner's about? And then I said, are you going after heart cards again?
I actually don't even know their card, to be honest. I have no idea what card they are. Yeah, I have no idea. I didn't even make it that far. Didn't even make it that far. I didn't even get a chance to even know.
Oh, that's funny. Well, it's good that you took a shot on a 7 of Spades week. Good for you.
I know, right? It started out with
That's good. Take a shot.
It did. It didn't end emotionally as well as it started, but I think now I took it on the chin. I feel better because what showed on the app was it was a 9 of Hearts day, and then I texted my cousin. I was like, I'm broke anyways. I do not even need to be out on the date. Like I save my little coins. So that is the 7 of Diamonds coming out. That is definitely the 7 of Diamonds aspect of poverty versus wealth mentality. So I can't say I need to still learn from that. It's not calling myself broke because I'm not like really super broke. I just have money in different areas of city and trying to help myself out. But I haven't got my money back from another bank who I feel like stole my money, but that's another story. But that's the 7 of Diamonds is poverty versus wealth mentality. But like I said, it's also connected to the 9 of Hearts, which can be a card of disappointments. If y'all want me to read that out, the energy that I was walking with. The 9 of Hearts, disappointments in love, romance, and possibly finances as distinct possibilities at this time. You may find that there are many obstacles in the way of your emotional happiness, including lack of material resources. This is one of stronger divorce cards, so the possibility of a separation or ending is present. Remember that endings are completions. Perhaps your current relationships have outlived their usefulness in your life, and you are ready to move on to greener pastures. In summary,
sounds a little scary, but it is true. I've had that card too. I need to get a light because I had a fire going and it got late, and I realized that I was leaving you hanging. But I want to go back to the fire, so I gotta get a light. But we'll sit at the fire and keep talking.
okay, that's fine.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the 7 of Spades week, huh?
Yeah, so that's why I kind of was talking about that because if you look at what the 9 of Hearts is, I know it's usually connected also to the 7 of Spades. And you know what? I don't even. You said what?
9s and 7s, they always seem to come together, right?
Right. You usually have like heavy 9s within the 7 of Diamonds spread. But the 9 of Hearts, you see here, it has the 7 of Spades and Uranus, right? So 7 of Spades weak, 7 of Spades and Uranus, unexpected endings or relationships or heartaches, unfortunately. It was the story was the position of my 7 of the 7 of Spades for me this week. Are you still there or we can't see you? No. So yeah, that is the 7 of Spades experience. And the reason I spoke about that is also my faith and belief was tested as far as relationships, my personal value as well.
Besides the girl who wouldn't go out with you?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a life thing for me has been because I consider myself as the ugly duckling growing up. I believe I was only popular because I was always athletic. And I just grew up with a brave little soul as far as sports. talking junk to no matter who it was as far as athletically. So that was just me. But so I was always popular in that sense. But as far as women, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't always like the I'm a razzle dazzle you with my words type of guy. So I've always had to have reinforcements, I think, as far as personally, as far as relationships. I think this dude Carlos said it best. I only went for people that like me. Like, if you didn't show you like me, I wasn't anything.
I
I can't hear you.
can't. Let me get the fire. I think more shyish kind of guys tend to go with like the talkative girls, right?
No, you're right. And we spoke about that behind the scenes a little bit. That guys that aren't really aggressive tend to go after, like you said, talkative or more aggressive women. Which the whole masculinity thing, as far as relationships and those things are really, I think, critical at this moment, which sevens can be like living up to a perfection or to a place that you can't attain, right? It can be very critical, right? About people can be very critical about men and their masculinity and where they stand at. And relationships, I think, is very important with the seven of spades as well. They have the four of hearts and Jupiter, actually. So for them, their relationships can actually empower them and they can gain power from relationships, which I think that's what shy guys or more reserved people may do as well, is see that power within a relationship and see someone that is, helping them as far as I think like complete them in a way, I guess, is kind of push them
But then
towards
what does the girl get? What does the girl get when she's with the boy who does that?
I don't know. What I'm not a woman, so what can you say? I don't know.
Well, I guess when you find when you find somebody who's nice and more like, willing to think about what they're doing, there's definitely a potential for a deeper intimacy. But if that person's locked away with gate and key, then what the heck?
Mm.
Right? So I think sometimes it depends on the alchemy of those energies. Because I do couples therapy, and I tell you, it's really crazy how much opposites attract. Like, it's really fascinating how much opposites attract. And so then what's the classroom when you're opposite? I would imagine it's to both get comfortable and bring your strengths to the shared space. But if there's a shutdown and it's like, okay, well, you'll do it, so I'll just let you, that's not going to grow good, right?
Right, right. How do
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, how does the iron
What?
sharpen? Yeah, how does iron sharpen iron? And then also, not shying away and being too dependent upon the other person, I guess. And maybe them
Yeah.
speaking up for you,
Mhm.
and then you kind of playing the background, maybe a little too much, not using your voice, possibly maybe getting ran over.
Mhm.
Or it looks
Yeah,
like
right? And then
it looks like
getting mad at the girl for running you over. But it's like, if you don't stop the girl from running you over, then what happens? I'm looking at the fire and I'm wanting to, but like, what happens if, so say girls just like a spinning top, right? And like,
go ahead, go ahead.
so like, how does the steadiness of the more introverted, maybe grounded partner, sometimes it's the girl who's the shy one and the boy's the chatty one, right? It's not always girls that are chatty.
Right, right.
How do they find a spot where both are in it and it's not just like an override?
Mhm.
So
Balance.
you
Trying to
need that person to like, yeah, balance. Yeah.
go ahead. You need what?
I said you need that person to come in and say, hey, hold up. I want to say something, or slow down. Like, and sometimes the shy person won't do that, but maybe the classroom of the shy person with the bossy person is for the bossy person to hear when someone else says slow down, and for the person who doesn't say it to say slow down.
Yeah, and speak up, right? I think, and
Yeah.
also I think within my relationship, I did see that, and it was actually with the seven actually, where this person was more domineering than me. There wasn't no freaky dominatrix thing going on. This is a stream for
What?
the
Come on
but there wasn't nothing crazy. But she was just more outspoken than I was, and I can say I'm not like I'm a Gemini, so I'm gonna say what I want to say. But sometimes I was conflict avoidance, right? I would avoid any
now. So
confrontation.
people had to guess. People had to guess from your little moody broody shit if you weren't happy.
Right? Yeah, yeah. So, because also I have Jupiter in Cancer with Chiron, so I do respect women a lot, and I kind of put them on a pedestal as far as basing my personal value on the opinion that a woman may have, I think. And that was kind of my downfall. So I played the background. I may not speak up a lot, and it may seem like, or if a woman says something, I just brush it off, right? So I may not speak up towards it. But this person was more outspoken than me, and they hated that fact, that side of me, because they seen the intelligent, being able to communicate certain things with them, but with anybody else, I may just brush it off. Even with them, it only got to that point where I really wanted them to kind of respect me, because that was another thing that came up I was seeing this week that was interesting was a man loves or his love is dependent upon the respect or how much respect you give to him, right? If he doesn't feel you respect him, then you kind of maybe lose him mentally. So there's also that aspect of being in a more powerful or being in a relationship where a female can be outspoken is as a man is that respect thing. So being in that type of relationship for me, I had to kind of trust that person and had to communicate how I wanted to be spoken to, and then also they had to communicate to me what I needed to do, and we had to have that conversation to kind of push me towards speaking up in certain aspects. So it's more of like a personal relationship. And then also you have to, I think as a man, you have to trust the person that they're not trying to degrade you. I think is when you get to that point, you can have a trustful conversation where you don't feel like someone is trying to degrade you based upon the advice they may give you, I think. So it's trusting and the conversation that has to be made, which tour clubs, tough conversations can turn into debates sometimes.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that the Seven of Spades, I think it's interesting that we're talking about relationships as much as we're always talking about Rashawn's relationships, which is very fun. And hello, J-Lo and Cosmic Sunflower. Nice to see you. But what I'm thinking is how intimacy is what you're talking about. Like, can I be safe to be my vulnerable self with you? Like, will you respect my process, my awkwardness, right? Because in the show or in the, falling in love part of the romance, the rom-com part, you don't always hit that stuff, right? You just kind of like, oh my God, look at us. Oh my God, we're so cool. Look at us. But when it's like, how do you really feel? And can I be present for your feelings? And can I try to understand them without making them about me? And like, that takes a certain kind of self-mastery to be that intimate with another.
Yeah, would they call that vulnerability? Maybe. Yeah, it does take a lot, I think, especially for men, because especially if you're shy and you're reserved, there are a lot of instances where people take your niceness as weakness sometimes, and it can
Mhm.
be you may be seen weak, and people may take advantage of that if you're shy, not outspoken. Especially men, we crack jokes a lot. Like if people heard the jokes that men talk or say, you'd be like, "Are y'all friends for real?" But
It's true,
so
but
when
they
you
are.
get
But yeah, it's true. But there's like a way that they go for each other's, like, gut, if you will, but it's kind of meant to be funny and stirring to like me too, but let's just make it funny. Like I think about that because I certainly was pretty boy-like as a younger girl and still have that where you can just bust about anything and joke about everything. But I think sometimes, and this is actually my week's learning, so I'm happy to, digest it with you. It's like, golly, maybe I'm not as good at staying in the emotions because I'll go to that little joking, jabbing stuff to lighten it, and maybe that's not necessarily where we're going to find the sweet spots.
Mm.
But I hear you.
No,
Go ahead. Go back to boys. They can be choppy. They can be hard. But I
no,
just
I
identify.
was just thinking about your spread and like what's in it. I know you have like the three of clubs and some other cards, and you're a king as well. So kings can be you said kind of Mars, Venus, right? I was thinking about where the jack is. I was like, you have a jack somewhere, so that's also a jack of
The
spades.
Jack of Spades is in my Pluto.
Yeah. No, it's in Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, which
Oh,
doesn't
Jupiter.
make
Okay.
sense, right? So it
Okay,
is
after the Eight of Clubs, my Saturn and my Jupiter is the Jack of Clubs after the Eight.
before the eight of clubs. So the
What?
eight of clubs.
Really? Oh my gosh. I always thought it was after. That's why I called it. Okay.
No, it's the two of diamonds, jack of spades, and the eight of clubs. Yeah. For the king of diamonds. So yeah, for you, the jacks are always kind of jokey, funny, creative aspect.
Mm-hmm.
That comes from that particular card, the artist, which transforms into the three of spades, which is Dame Dash's card. Who directed and who's into movies and those things. And he actually was trying to create a whole TV network or television station, which no one is really doing other than BET and was PD to Revolt, right? So what he's doing is very impactful and powerful in those aspects as well as far as communication and broadcasting. But that's what the Jacks do for you as well. But jokey, funny, and kind of playing it off. It's that energy. But yeah, it is something that men kind of do, and being vulnerable with your girl or your woman or can be can I think some men can get defensive, right? And that being defensive can also, like you said, can shut someone down where they don't want to communicate certain things, that may not want to be vulnerable. You have trained yourself not to be vulnerable because, the first people you are vulnerable with, the reason I said that are your friends, are your guys, um, and that also is what determines that maybe it's the home as well. So, are you still there?
I'm here. I'm just turned it to the fire again. Yeah, I mean, we were talking, my eldest son, or the eldest one, I wouldn't call him mine, but the one that came out first, that he and his brother, we were far more sarcastic and jabby as a way to show love, quote unquote, and like closeness by being mean. Whereas the twins in the younger generation being 21, it was different, right? Like I would overhear them talking about real vulnerable things with their friends and awkwardness and how it felt, and they might still joke and tease each other, but they also made some time to be like, yo, this is like this. And I've even heard them be like, hey, that's not cool. Don't talk about that right now. That's too raw for him right now. Right.
Mm,
So I don't know where, I think it's more from their peers and their friends. They're Queen of Hearts. So, they're more kind like that in the heart. Right. But as the two of diamonds and eight of clubs, the older boys, they weren't necessarily looking for the nice words always. Right. It was more just like, how can I get you and get like one up and make everybody laugh, whereas the twins had a different motivation of like, I think more closeness,
mm,
like physical, like, intimacy, closeness. I'm not saying the older ones aren't close, but they definitely, you know, jab at each other in their closeness, right?
mhm. No, yeah, and like you said, they're Queen of Hearts, so I can definitely see that
Yeah.
from who
So
they
it's
are.
different energy. Yeah.
They sit Neptune. So um,
Hmm.
that the energy of connecting with people. They say the Pisces or the Neptune element is like water. You can kind of feel the ripple space around you
Hmm.
and being connected to everything and really feel
Hmm.
connection and the waves and energy. So yeah, I can definitely understand that.
What about the audience? We have all these people in the audience. What do you guys feel? Do you find that the gentlemen that you know have a harder time being intimate with their stronger feelings than the girls do? Like, what's your feelings about the ability to be truly intimate? What have you noticed? Just if you have any thoughts on it, ladies, because it's,
not
because I
being
just don't want to feel like you're doing anything wrong. The boys seemingly are fine with it, right? They still feel close. Like if somebody needed something, they would go and help the other person, but they wouldn't go and be like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" They'd go and make fun of you and help you.
I laugh because I'm thinking about me and my friends. I just got done talking to my man, my homie from back home. Like coming up, I grew up in the house with guys. Like it was me, my brother, and my brother, my younger brother, and my younger sister. I'm the oldest. But when I got to high school, actually between like middle school, high school. I started living. My cousin came to live with us, and then people from two guys from my football team lived with us for like a year during
Oh wow!
my senior, going to my junior and senior year. They stayed with
You had
us.
like a bro den.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. My cousin, me and him are like, thick. We go like we've been through thick and thin. Like he's a queen of clubs, and then the other two friends is a four of clubs and a five of diamonds.
Oh,
And they're
nice.
two
Hmm.
brothers. Yeah,
Sounds like a
my
good
mom's
set.
is a. Mhm.
It sounds like a good set of mirrors. But after the trust is built, they do start opening up. I agree. I think there's a certain kind of ease and the vibe has to get to where there's an opening up. I think it's really just social awkwardness playing out in jokes.
Mhm. Yeah, it is, and it was
I'm
kind
just
of really
moving.
kind of hard. Like my cousin had this girlfriend I always got on his nerves about who was in.
What happened? I can't hear you. All right. Hi, everybody. I guess somehow Rashad jumped off. Maybe something died. But yeah, I guess that's true of all of us that we need to be able to feel a certain amount of ease and comfort with anybody to start to open to the deeper layers. I feel like in my personal journey, I'm really recognizing how my inner world and intimacy really calls for my attention more, like just showing up and trying to help and being good. Like that's not necessarily growing the part that seems to need my attention right now. So I guess we'll see that all of us genders will start to maybe meet from the heart different. We'll see if Rashad comes back. I am here. I'm just sitting at the fire and I would prefer to put it down than hold the computer. So yeah, there's a full moon. Let me see if you guys can see the full moon. There it is. It just came up over the hill. I've really been enjoying this moon. Yeah, it doesn't look as big as if it came up over the hill, but it was big coming up over the hill. He froze again. Oh my goodness, Rashad. Well, he's pretty consistent, right? For as long as I've known Rashad, this is the way it grows. Oh, look at the moon's right there behind me. That's kind of fun. Hello, moon. Hello, grandmother moon. Nice. Yeah, right? It's a good day. It's a good day. It's kind of cold out, I'm not going to lie. But let's see. Blankets are good. Blankets are good. So, let's see, where shall I go with the Seven of Spades and the deepening of the faith? I mean, it's one of those things that I stand with, almost not knowing that it's there until I'm pushed in a situation where I'm like, oh, I'm going to go with my faith. I'm going to trust. I'm going to surrender. I'm not going to try to control. Because I find it's really done some damage when I try to control things, It's because I can't see the whole picture. And if I get caught thinking there's a certain way, I'm usually missing a lot of what's really happening because I get blinded by righteousness. I mean, it's fun because you think you're all that, for a little bit, but then it goes, oh, look who's back, my friend Rashad.
You're saying you get blinded by righteousness?
I did not say that. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I was just talking about how in the Seven of Spades week, I find that I have that with me all the time, and I tend to go along for the surrender and the trust and the faith. But there are times where my righteousness can come through, and I lose my clarity because my righteousness thinks it knows better.
What you mean? What do you mean?
Well, like I'll have a judgment, right? Like, oh, that should have been this way. This is the way it should have been done. And then someone else is talking. Maybe I'm not always listening to their attunement or what they think should have done because I'm waiting to make sure they know what I thought should happen. And this is how it should be done, right? I perceive that as righteousness. Like, this is the way it should be. I think it's really fed by judgment personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Trying to think. There's a that is also a seven in space lesson as well. Actually, trying to think of seven. Is it just a seven or the seven of spades? Despite this higher plane material, we find many sevens living very close to the ground, grubbing for money that is never enough to meet their needs and subservient to those who are far beneath them in the ranks of God's elect. One thing only keeps them there: their faulty judgment of values. The King of Diamonds is proof that substance is not denied them, but command over it is not assured unless it is to be applied to the fulfillment of their mission. As we have learned, they are diggers for truth, contenders for the growth of the soul, heralds of doctrine of eternal life, as is the case with all spades. It also talks about another sense of judgment of values on top of that. But you are the king of diamonds as well. Let me see. There's another line speaking about that as well. I think it's just in the sevens. There's a sense of perfection. You have the seven of spades. Actually, is your supportive karma, right? Yeah, because the king of three of clubs is your challenging karma. So this is very close to you as far as spiritually, right? I'm like, right? Even though I know that.
Yes. Yes, that's what I meant about the righteousness. Like sometimes I stand so solid in my faith, it's as if my faith is right, but that's not true. Like all things are, have light, right? Everything has something in truth about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What are you looking up?
Here, seven is the number of the soul. In silence, peace, and self-examination, we go towards perfection. And criticism of others, suspicion, judgment on face value, and sharp practice, we create our own obstacles and invite our own difficulties. There are no young souls with the seven of birth call. All know that there is the quest for truth. So is it just your quest for truth or what you know? But within that, you may be overly critical of yourself, and maybe judging things for the moment or what someone may give you for what they're saying at the moment, like it's kind of like at face value, without thinking or letting it being silent, which is also says be silent, be still, and let it.
Yeah, that is that's it right there. Letting it kind of work itself out and not jumping on the button like you know the answer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and I think that's a human thing, right? That's why we're it's a human thing. And the seven of spades is the card of faith, right? And you're a king. So there's also this perfection, like you said, things the way that you want it to go. Seven is is a sense of perfection. I always call seven, and that's the reason I say it's one of those cards that's it's like a mirror, right? They're highly
Mhm.
critical of themselves within the dark or away from people. So it can be
Mhm.
who's overly critical of themselves and maybe even others as well, right? So
Mhm.
within that, you got to learn grace, patience, right? With yourself and also others. So, but yeah, I think that's just a human aspect. And even for ourselves, within relationships, outside of relationships, you that first sense of criticism and defense is comes from yourself, being highly critical of yourself and not being able to
Right.
take on the advice from other people just because you are
Mhm.
highly critical, and then that turns into you being maybe debative without truly listening to someone and trying to understand what they're saying or how it could relate, even though it may not seemingly relate at that particular moment. But there could be
Mhm.
some wisdom, that they saying it, and you may not be thinking that they're even hearing you out.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. That's all true. That's definitely true. I think the personality, I know I've said this before, but I think sometimes these life paths also have like inherent tendencies in our personalities. And part of what our faith and our maturing and our classroom of mastery and sovereignty is not to misuse our personalities as systems that keep us separate.
Hmm.
Right? Our personalities, our charm, our smile, our way, our, tenacity or whatever, but if we're using it to kind of keep everybody at bay, then we're not necessarily growing in the oneness, right? We're kind of like in the protective mode. So I've been really thinking a lot about personalities lately and how they, because pretty much how you act is how people act back to you, right? Like your personality kind of creates the response pattern, right? So if you act a certain way, especially when someone's first learning you, they're like, oh, when I said this, they did that. Okay. And if you're not giving clues about what's true and what you'd like to create, you could fall into stuff that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing that again. How did we end up doing that again? And I think oftentimes it's from the way personalities interact.
The mirror effect, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
That we don't see and sometimes don't understand. And that's another reason, like I said, I kind of started this off talking about the aspects of spirituality and understanding, and using this as a sense of understanding the matrix that we live in.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
But
I think about that too. Hmm.
once we understand and use this as a science of understanding, and not just projecting a lot, and it can make you actually project, but more of what we should be using it for is understanding yourself and also others, and giving grace to yourself and others as well, right? Without
Hmm.
having to judge people, for what you may think and what you may project based upon just your personal experience of what you've seen. There's also this thing where, um, there was a call and response, and they kept chanting something, and I forgot what they was chanting, but what they chanted started to change, but they showed words across the screen, and
Hmm.
what you heard was the words, but what they chanted was something else. So it's like you
Hmm.
you only heard what you perceived to be, right, or what you thought it was,
Right? That's interesting.
based upon what you were programmed to take in or what you understood at the time. Yeah,
Makes sense, right?
and that's not going to tangent about schizophrenia, but a lot
Makes
of
sense.
times, just anybody with mental illness or any type of mental illness, seven spades is a card of illnesses as well, and it can become love broken, but it's a card of
What? What was that mumble? What did you just say?
I said they can become love broken or just brokenhearted based upon their emotions or their personal value, right? Kind of like I kind
Mm.
of we, um, but your
So, like,
perspective.
if the love story doesn't work out, you kind of become like, melancholy. Like, is that what you mean?
Yeah, for sure. Space are a card of drudgery. So yeah, to be stuck into so this woe is me type of attitude, right? Based upon what you believe is taking place, or what you see or what you perceive it is. But um, I I'm not going to go into those, but people, even looking at people and how they react and their personal belief system can shape even what how they treat other people within, like when they're sick or they're ill, being able to have empathy for other people, and using the cards to find empathy for those who are maybe not at their higher self. I think is something that we all have to use the cards, and it can maybe can help us understand people in those type of places as well. Using it with their mental during when I was working at the school was amazing. It was kind of crazy, especially using it on people on all different levels. It kind of helped me understood and how people even within mental illness or within their seeing them in the state of they're not in their right mind, but looking at the cards and saying like they're still spiritually aligned was kind of really interesting to me, right? It's like this is a higher source. So this is coming from a higher will that's outside of us. You can't really judge it based upon face value, right? So I think the cards take you, excuse me, the cards can take you out of that judging people for what you may see and what you may believe, because once you look at the cards, and you can read someone's card and they seemingly have a mental illness, but they're doing everything the cards say, you kind of got to take a step back and be like, whoa, what is really taking place here? Who's really in control, right? What is this matrix that we really living in, right? So when I think his name Mike Danza, Danza was speaking about the matrix, I was like, dang, people don't understand how I see the matrix. I wish you could see it from my perspective. I wish the world can see it. That's like why we hear sometimes is like, like how y'all don't see this.
What does your perspective look like? What do you mean you wish everyone could see from your perspective? Isn't that you every week talking about things? Isn't that kind of like your perspective to some degree?
Yeah, but no. Yeah, like it is. So I
What
can't.
does that mean?
Yeah, I can't really explain what I see within the hour. Like I can write everything down, but to really get everything out is like I can only do it through Instagram, and it's still to like that bit of what I really see happening around me and just with other people as well, right? Just people using their talents, their gifts, like Dr. Des Bryant this week, I seen her and looking on the Breakfast Club, like the flow, the patterns, like everything be like on point. But anyways, but seeing her talk about, being a hothead and having to take on emotional control, and she's a therapist, to other people. So this lady who's been a therapist also needing that same emotional understanding from her partner because she knows that she can maybe have a temperament. But if you look at the Five of Diamonds, and she was on the Breakfast Club. If you look at the Five of Diamonds, they have a Queen of Spades and Mercury, right? So that speaks to mental health, being a mother, nurturing other people, but also for yourself, trying to having to understand emotional control, right, and not being a tyrant because Spades can be kind of cold sometimes, right? So and having to understand your emotional side, highs and lows, and we give women that factor of being snappy, highly emotional. It holds true, right? I'm not just judging, all right? I'm not projecting. uh, because men, it's different. Men,
What do you mean? Why are you saying that? What are you talking about? What do you mean? Huh?
right?
Yeah, we can be very emotional. Like, I joked the other day with somebody saying like they were talking about their dog and their dog was crazy. I'm like, boy, I tell you, boys just love crazy bitches. And he's like, story of my life. And I said, I think all of us crazy bitches appreciate it. And honestly, I don't think it's boys that make us crazy, ladies. As much as there's trials in all relationships, I think it's more about, are we truly standing together or are we splitting on each other? I think sometimes the way girls have not stood together plays on our ability to be confident and clear about who we are and why we're here. And then we take it out on our boys' relationships. But this is crazy. When Rashad comes back, I'm totally hanging up on him and going to enjoy my fire. But always fun to talk with everyone. And I don't know that anyone's crazy. I just think that the ability to see yourself in the other and work together for that shared space, which I like to call the sweet spot, that actually grows grace to find that sweet spot. And to be in contempt or to be in resistance or judgment and such, I just think that keeps our wheels spinning, you know? So that's my thoughts about it. Oh, Rashad. So, but I appreciate J-Lo that you're always here. And thanks for telling people to say hello and smash and like and all that. And I'll say one other thing on December 7th, myself, Gina, Rob Stewart, and Donna Webb, who does the parenting stuff, we're doing mini readings. So I think it costs $60 or $70 or something. I don't remember how much it costs. You can go to the familycardtable.com to see. But we're doing mini readings where you meet with Rob for astrology, you do your birth card, you do your planetary ruler, like you kind of like get a sense of you and where you're at. And then I help kind of integrate it and give you some focus and alignment so you can put all together the wisdom that you're hearing for mastery and sovereignty. And Rashad, I was just saying that I was going to say goodbye to you soon because it's cold and I want to sit in the moon before I have to go to bed, and you keep popping out anyway.
No, I understand.
Because I wasn't sure where you were going, I was like, well, I'm just going to tell everybody about December 7th. And I did say that I think the craziness comes from not standing together as a team, and like girls with girls or boys with boys. And I think we take it out on each other when we don't feel safe in the oneness, like the connections. That's what I was babbling about.
Yeah, for sure. Men and women, we both got to unlearn
Yeah.
emotional control, being vulnerable, not being argumentative. And there's a time and place to express yourself and how to express yourself. Like I was quiet, but I also played sports, so I did talk a lot of junk in those. So I was a hothead in those arenas myself, which I could be a little debative sometimes. But
for a shy guy, you're up here on YouTube doing your thing, so you've broken through some of it. For a guy who's so introverted, like you say, you're being pretty brave.
Broke through the third wall somehow. Yeah, I appreciate it. It comes from those days talking you all behind off screen. You made it comfortable.
Yeah, we did that for years, right? For years we were doing that for sure.
Yeah.
After a while, you're like, who cares?
Yeah.
I said, after a while, you're like, who cares? I'm just talking anyway. Who cares what I look like? Right?
I'm just talking to y'all, so it's not like
that's what it feels like. We're just talking to each other, and if the world's listening, then they're hopefully, not hanging up, right? Hopefully they're saying, hey, what about that? I think about that too. And then come back and listen some more and tell us what you think. Like Rashad's always said with this whole thing, like, come up or ask us questions or what do you think? By no means are we like, wanting to just throw stuff at you. We want to share with you and grow smarter together. Then so that's why J-Lo and Cosmic Sunflower and Marika K, she's a king of spades or clubs. Marika is a king of clubs. Nice. And J-Lo is the jack of clubs, right? Or is she the queen of clubs?
Jack of clubs.
Mm-hmm. And what's Cosmic Sunflower? 3 of diamonds?
I'm not sure. So some people don't have Instagram names, then I'm not sure of everybody. Usually, if I know it, if you tell me, I can remember it. Like I remember cards better than birthdays for sure. Like there's this dude that comes, the USP guy. His name is Calvin, I think, and I'm like, I want to ask him his card because I don't even know if it's Calvin. It may be Cameron. I use the card, but yeah.
Nice. So Aries 2 of spades is the Cosmic Sunflower. And Marika is the king of clubs.
Yeah. So yeah, we appreciate you all. We definitely make it comfortable as well. And your feedback and conversation makes it comfortable. So speaking to people we know, to the fan. But I guess I go through. I know you say you have to go.
Yeah, you can keep going. You can keep going if I go. I understand. I'm cold and I want to get closer to the fire, and you kept popping in and out, and it's getting late.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. I was going to read through the comments, but yeah. So you said what day is the event on, or when are you?
Oh,
You all?
December 7th. It's on December 7th. And then we're going to do them again for relationships. And it was really fun. Like we went little breakout rooms and each person went to the room. We only had the 4 people, even though there's room for 12. It started small. And we each went to the rooms and we did like individual readings with the people. And you kind of got a collective kind of read from 4 different perspectives. So that could help you kind of integrate the where you're at now. Or if you don't know anything about the cards, then it's kind of like, what the heck's going on? But if you do know it, then we meet you a little different. Like it depends on where you come in with it. But it's just nice because everyone gets to share their gifts. When we're up here doing these things, we're really growing an audience, a community to say this information can really help you grow a different foundation of awareness and possibility. So this is what everything that we're doing at the card table, the family card table, we're shotting cards, like all the different things. I think we're all just trying to say this stuff makes a lot of sense and it can be very liberating. So take a little time to learn who you are and what life path you might be on.
Yeah, and outside of this one-on-one speaking with each other, it kind of get to see it blossom a little bit more and put the words together for you personally. It's the ultimate goal, is to motivate you to research more and to find out more, whether it be me, Gina, Madeline, or anyone else, Rob,
Donna.
Dharma. So, no matter who it is, you're able to kind of understand. You may have a little basis of understanding from us speaking, or maybe present you a little bit more clarity. Some of you are already experts or have a lot of knowledge, like Cosmo has. Has anyone noticed this Pisces 7 of Spades sometimes have stints in prison for crimes that require intelligence to commit? Yes, they are geniuses, and they will get you in trouble with their schemes. So I can't speak directly, openly about that, but it can be one of those things. Actually, this book actually kind of speaks to it at the end. The Pisces 7 of Spades, I think maybe for them. Let me see. Scatter. They talk about the 7 of Spades, scatter their forces, but it talks about they work quietly, often secretively, or usually willing to remain behind the scenes. For that reason, they are valuable in secret service, or greatly aided by their instinctive discernment of truth or falsehood. And one of the books may not be
It's
this one.
built right in the instinctive discernment. That's a truth, like instinctive discernment of truth, of not truth. Like that's a power, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I have one. So
Listen to me. Let me just tell you something. It's on red. So if it just blips out, I'm out, right? My computer's going to die and I'm probably going to like fade out. I'm just telling you, no offense. Thank you, everyone, so much. I just want you to know so that it doesn't like be rude. Go ahead. Keep going.
No, I was going to say one actually taught me about the power of discernment for a certain trade. And I went against all instincts of what they told me. And I ended up putting myself in a position where other people tried to harm me for what I had because she taught me the game, the rules, and I didn't follow it. And it was kind of like this instinct that she had of discerning between all money isn't good money. So yeah, she definitely had that sense of clarity and discernment. And she knew who was real, who was fake based upon the way they moved. So she definitely was the truth. And actually, there's I know Nana Diamonds, who we call her Truth. She called herself Truth, and they have the 7 of Spades and Mercury. So for sure.
Yeah, my grandson's a 9 of diamonds, and I swear that's where we meet is in that 7 of spades, and we both get kind of like, no, it's got to be like this. No, it's got to be like this. And I'm like, listen, I gotta have some. I'm 55 years older than you. Like my voice has to have some value here. You can't just like take over. But with his 9 of diamonds, 7 of spades, like he's right. Period.
Put a dot on it, right?
Yeah, like an exclamation point, if you will, maybe two.
Exclamation point, right? But yeah,
Right.
they say Mars, so they come with a certain amount of power within itself. So I definitely understand that. That whole Uranus row is some firecrackers. But yeah, I don't want to stay too long.
Look at this. We got a human lie detector. Did you see that one? From Isis Mari Frequency. Oh my, what a fun name. Isis Mari Frequency. That's such a fun name. She says, that's so great.
Yeah, right. Human life for real. Yeah, 9 of diamonds, Mercury. Yeah, I think she's a 9 of diamonds. Also practices the card. So we appreciate you all. Please hit the like button as well, so other people can get the information. They can share the information as well. Go through the comments a little bit more. Marika says she visited her mother-in-law for her birthday. So that's 7 of spades is outside of the truth is a higher spiritual truth as well, like beyond them. Like she doesn't know that happened to me. She was just speaking from her higher spiritual sense. So spirituality and that connection is definitely important. She says King of clubs. I knew you asked about if there was a king of spades, a king of clubs, who are also truth seekers, which is a reason is because reason because of that 7 of spades, which gives them that essence of being the truth seekers, is also because that king of clubs, jack of diamonds, and you know what? They are very good with money too. Out of all people talk about Jack of Diamonds being a bad card, being a liar, thief, having those type of things, being secretive, maybe behind the scenes. But a 7 of spades can be good with money as long as they're honest and using it for the right purposes. Can be very good handling other people's money as well. Which this week I used a friend. I wouldn't say they actually be using me. We have a Jupiter connection to let him kind of manage some money and kind of invest it for me. That faith over fear type of aspect this week. I said, oh my gosh, yes, my 9 of diamonds, she is a Leo with Aries moon. Those emotions make me wanna make you wanna. But for sure. All right, so we're gonna get up out of here. We appreciate y'all. No one appreciates that. Nobody appreciates the truth.
We do. We do. It just don't try to bully your way in with your truth. Just sit with it. I think it's all about the truths coming together for more clarity. But yeah, the truth is where it's at. And I think it is a feeling deep inside. And I think when you can overcome your personality and pride, you get more inclined to who you are and what your calling is and why you're here.
Nah, yeah, for sure. It becomes more clear once you understand
Mhm.
the sign symbols. You know what you're speaking about is truth, and then you can stand in that. Like if I knew that I was speaking truth about Bitcoin, I would have bought more instead of listening to other people. I wouldn't say listen to other people. I told my dad, who had the ability
Oh, I
to at least have,
remember all that. I remember those conversations. I was around for all that.
yeah, he got the ability to get like at least 8 or 10 of them joints. Like right now, he'll be sitting at almost a meal, but it's neither here nor there. No, that.
Oh, jeez.
But
If he would
faith.
have, if he would have listened, right?
Yeah, that's what you gotta have faith and belief in yourself. If nobody else believing in yourself, and put the action and everything into yourself, based upon what you believe. And just sit back, watch it grow, and you don't have to laugh later, but you can enjoy the abundance that it brings. but
Mm-hmm.
but all right, we'll get out of here. I'll talk to you later. Next week is the 8 of spades week. It's a card of power, negotiation, business. It is a bully as well. Something about the 7 of spades is willpower and having that will, and knowing that truth in the spirit of a higher source is behind you. So what gives them that willpower is also not is the eights and the relationships the sevens have with the eights. So as you can see, seven of spades have the eight of, oh, you can't see them. Seven of spades has the eight of hearts in Neptune and the eight of hearts that supports it emotionally. But the eight of spades has the eight of hearts, diamonds, and clubs in it. So it's willpower, money, expansion, business, is the key concepts of next week, and also knowing that no one's trying to play you mentally, right, and having that confidence within yourself and what you know, without being degraded or having that feeling of being degraded. So we'll see how that plays out next week. Hopefully, everyone willpower is increasing from the inner strength of faith within themselves. So, see you here at the card table. We bring you our lives. You have brought us a lot of information. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, and every week is in the archives. You go to the lives on Rashad and Cards. So if you've got a card in your spread or something's coming up, you're curious, you can listen to that week. And we've been doing this for almost 2 years and going over the weeks and the news and relationships and such. So if somebody's like, what is this stuff about? There's some really great ones out there, especially if you let them listen to the week energy of their card. It might make them curious to learn more about the cards in general, because anytime I have sessions these days, after a little bit, I just tell people, oh, well, you're this card and you're that card. So it's like this and this, or your grandmother's this way, or your mother's this way because she's this. They're like, how did you know that? And I'm like, it's life paths. It's not like magical science. It's just tendencies that come with a certain card.
For sure.
Right.
And all based upon, we're all learning, so take your time with it and first learn it, you first introduce, it may be seemingly overwhelming, but it takes time. You understand yourself more as well. First, you start with yourself, then that help you understand everyone else.
True story, Rashad. Thank you for that. All right. Well, thanks, Rashad. It's always good to see you. Thank you, everybody, for your shares. And yeah, the Bitcoin, who knows what that is? I bought some too. We'll see if it ever becomes something I go and find and try to buy or get back. But for now, it's just sitting somewhere. And I'm like, okay, I bought some. We'll see what happens. Maybe Rashad and I'll talk about that one day. What should I do with this?
It'll get to the point where people, I don't know how it's going to work, because it's like one of those things. In order for money to grow, you have to spend it, right?
Oh, okay.
So it's one of those things. That's what I thought about this week is how is it going to
spending Bitcoin, like, because the dollar bill went down so much, like starting to use Bitcoin instead of the dollar.
Yeah, so it's one of those things. Is it going to reach a max value? Something that I've and what is that max value? And is it able to be distributed worldwide, or are the other coins, what they call support coins, be able to kind of use those in exchange as like a gold standard? So it may be the new gold standard, but all right.
Yeah, that'd be good. We'll talk about it. I'm hanging up on you. Goodbye. We'll talk more soon. I do like where we're going. I want to talk about it, but not now. It's going to click off. I know it. All right. Bye.
Enjoy.
Keep going if you want to. Please don't stop because of me.
No, I'm about to log out too. I need to go. I'm using up the business power. I'm not paying rent to myself. All right. See y'all later. I'm still here. Okay. This thing. I don't have an outro song, but I may try to sing a little bit. No, I'm just playing. Let me get here. See y'all.